I'm Andy Berry, a pastor and parent still learning how to disciple not only the kids in my own home, but the kids in my ministry. So I'm having conversations with innovative leaders who are fostering a strong partnership between the church and the home. This is the Nurturing Faith Collective podcast. Welcome back to the Nurturing Faith Collective podcast. I'm your host, Andy Berry, and today is the season 1 finale. And throughout this season, I've had the pleasure of talking with parents and pastors and ministry leaders about innovative ways to disciple the next generation. And as we conclude this season, I think we've saved my favorite conversation for last. I talked today with Kelly Hensley and Erica Strickland. Kelly is the children's ministry director at First Baptist Church in St. Albans, West Virginia, where she works primarily with infants through 5th graders and their parents. She has got a wonderful husband and 2 kids. Erica is the children's pastor at Seymour Heights Christian Church in Seymour, Tennessee, where she lives with her husband and her 10 and 5-year-old sons. They are both graduates of Bethel Seminary, recent graduates of Bethel Seminary, and Kelly is actually continuing her doctoral work there now. They are dear friends and deep lovers of pizza. In this conversation, we drill down on a topic that I really hadn't discussed often, or really even before, and that is when we show up in the lives of our families, right? When we meet them where they're at, sometimes that engagement, the response from the parent is guilt or shame. The first thing they will tell us is how many weeks it's been since they've been to church, how everyone's been sick so they couldn't make it, how they plan on coming next week. And so our goal is to strip the guilt and the shame out of those engagements and out of those moments. And so we talk about some ways that we can do that. Kelly and Erica offer amazing insights into this. This ministry that we do, right? This partnership has to be personal. And so we talk about some ways to personalize it. We talk about some ways to build bridges and build connections and build relationships. I have not stopped thinking about several things that were said in this episode. I wrote them down as soon as we were done recording, and I'll be chewing on them for weeks. And so get your pen ready. I really think you're going to enjoy this episode. If you've missed any of these conversations from season 1, I would really encourage you to go back and give them a listen, because our goal from the beginning has been to have conversations that will help you, the ministry leader, the parent, the faith influencer, to take practical, tactical steps as you disciple the kids in your family and the kids in your ministry. And today's episode is no different. So enjoy this conversation with Kelly and Erica. Hey, Kelly, Erica, welcome to the Nurturing Faith Collective podcast. It is so good to have you here. And Erica, you did say just before we came on, I might be in trouble having the 2 of you on together.
It's true.
What do you mean by that? What am I in for?
We're our cohort besties. Like there's some other friends that we team up with, and when you get us together, we have fun. So there's no telling what we'll say.
Well, I mean, when you say cohort besties, you mean, of course, through Bethel Seminary, which is where we all have gone to school. But I was not there the same time that you all were. When did you all graduate?
May of 25.
All right. Well, welcome to the real world. School is over. It's time to grow up. No, you all have obviously done some growing. So the question is, and you know, this has been fairly common, that we have folks who are living their lives, they're working, they're raising families, and then they think, let me go back to school. Mm-hmm. So Kelly, what was the driver for you to enter into seminary?
So as I was going through my position and gained my position at my church, I realized, hey, there is so much more out there to learn about children. And I was at CPC, Children's Pastors Conference, and met Todd, who is the enrollment counselor at Bethel. And he said, hey, we have a children, youth, and family program. I would love to talk to you more about it. So Todd and I had conversation after conversation, and I felt God leading me to go back to school and really dive into children's ministry as much as I could possibly learn. And what a top-notch education that is. It is really a great program.
Yeah. How about you, Erica?
So my husband is in higher ed, and so he got his doctorate, and I was like, man, I want to keep up a little bit.
Right.
I want to. So much changed from the time so my undergrad is in children's ministry from Johnson University, and so much has changed since I graduated with that, and especially post-COVID, that I was like, I feel like there is so much more that I could dive into to be better equipped to partner with parents. And so I was actually looking at Indiana Wesleyan's master's program, and I met Denise Keysbo at CPC. And after one conversation with her, I called Todd and I was like, this is it. This is where I want to be. And funny story, I thought Bethel was in Indiana because there is a Bethel
right.
in Indiana. And then I signed up, I got accepted, everything, and we got our intensive schedule. And I was like, oh, I have to go to St. Paul. So it was a surprise, but it changed my life. It was the best thing I could have done.
I love it. I too had a phone conversation with Denise, or I had a conversation with Denise that lasted about 20 minutes. And at the end of it, I was applying and then enrolling in Bethel. So shout out Denise,
Right?
Yeah,
Yes.
she gets it done. So well, now, so we've launched this thing called the Nurturing Faith Collective. We've talked, on previous episodes about the work of that collective. And recently, an email went out to some graduates of Bethel Seminary that just said, hey, we have this thing, the Nurturing Faith Collective. Would you like to get involved in any way? And you two were crazy enough to check the box that said, yes, I'll come be a guest on an episode of the podcast, which is how we arrived here. So I'm just so thankful for you all. One, for the faithful step that you took to pursue more education. I love that children's and family ministry and student ministry is no longer, sort of a stepping stone to real ministry, quote unquote, real ministry, or it's no longer a stepping stone to being an associate pastor, a senior pastor. There are now career children's ministry people, and there have been in the past, but it just hasn't been as prevalent. And so, yes, there has never been more of a need for really great training. And that's what we got. So that's what led us all to this random place in Minnesota, from Tennessee and West Virginia and Virginia, which, by the way, we got this great little triangle happening right here.
Yes, we do.
I've had to interview people from California and North Dakota, but we're keeping it home today. So
that's right.
Should we all sing Country Road, Take Me Home?
Yes.
Should we do that? No, we'll save it.
I'm in.
Which, by the way, there's like a remix of that song that's come out in the last few years that I really, really love. And so we were listening to that with my 10-year-old and 7-year-old. And they said, what is this? And I said, well, it's based on this other song. And, they said, well, can we listen to the original song and hear that? And we listened to it, and we got like 15 seconds into it, and they go, this is really boring. Yeah, this is really boring. And I thought, you have no culture, man. You have no culture. So
nope.
So, well, listen, let's talk about where you all, we've talked geographically where you are, but talk to me about your ministry context, because I think sometimes we jump into episodes like this and people start talking and sharing ideas. And I think it's just so helpful for a listener to know what your current context is. Where are you trying these ideas? Where are you struggling? Where are you challenging, things? What is that context for you? So, Erica, tell us about your role and what that ministry looks like.
So I am the children's pastor at Seymour Heights, and I've been over a couple different age ranges over the past couple years. My current is birth through 6th grade, but actually we have a new youth pastor coming on in January, and so 4th through 6th grade is going to be a combined effort. We're gonna be over that together.
Nice.
So my main focus is birth through 3rd grade, and it's equipping volunteers. I have a team of about 130 amazing volunteers that I get to work with every month. And so a lot of my time is spent making sure they have what they need to be successful. But that's where I'm at, and I've been here for 9.5 years.
Wow. What's so birth through third grade, but where would you say, man, this is my sweet spot? This is the group I love the most, or, I mean, I know we love all the kids the most, but where do you find, you derive the most joy from? What age group working with?
So, I actually love teaching our preteens. So fourth through sixth
Yeah.
grade, if I'm in a room with them, it's the best. Um, it's funny though, because when I started in ministry, I was like, I don't want to touch anything above fifth grade.
Yeah.
And then I became a small group leader for our youth group as a volunteer, and I fell in love with youth ministry in a whole new way. So
Yeah.
I like spending time with our fourth through sixth graders. But as of late, if I can just sit in the nursery and snuggle a newborn, I am all about
Right.
that. That's the place to be on a Sunday morning.
Well, I mean, the thing is, whether you're in the nursery or in fourth and fifth grade, I mean, you have interesting smells, right?
That's right.
So,
Mm.
That's right.
different
And weird
smells.
sounds that you don't
Yeah,
understand.
and weird sounds. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as the father of a fifth grader, I am loving this phase that he's in. He's still sweet, and he'll still sort of snuggle up with us on the couch, and he's got a younger brother, so he'll still watch some very childish TV show with him. And other times I'm like, what are you, 17? In the way that he's asking questions or thinking about things, or, it's really, really fun right now. So
It is. So what does this mean to you?
Oh, you know what? It's so funny. So yeah, for those listening and not watching this on
Yes.
YouTube, we just got the haunted 6-7 hand signal.
Yep.
So when I go and volunteer, a lot of times in my kids' school cafeteria, and as we get as the fourth and fifth grade lunches come in, they're all trying to get me to say it, and so they all are moving their hands that way, and I always go, "Are you juggling? Like, are you pretending to juggle?" Or I'll say, no, you're bouncing that basketball upside down. Like, you got to turn your hand over if you want to dribble a basketball. And
Yep.
they're like, no, that's not what it means. So yes, so I and other elder millennials, we're doing our best to kill it. We're doing our
Yep.
best to just we're
100%.
using it as much as we can so that the younger generations will think it's lame now. So
Yep.
join me. If you're listening, join us in the
Always.
cause to eliminate 6-7 from the zeitgeist.
It worked
Please.
with Yeet. We can do it with 6-7. We just got to make
That's
it sound
right.
ridiculous.
Right. Here's what I love is that someone is going to find like an archive of this episode 20 years from now and have no idea what we're talking about.
Yes. Yes.
So that's going to be great. Hey, Kelly, tell us about your context.
So I'm the children's ministry director at my church. It is birth through fifth grade. And Erica, I'm with you on that. I can't go above fifth grade. I love the kids. That's just not in my wheelhouse. So I am with those children. I equip volunteers. I don't have as many as Erica does. I wish I did.
Don't we all?
Don't we all?
Yeah.
But I help with the lessons and prepare curriculum and prepare a children's story every Sunday. So I think that is one of the favorite things that I do is I get to bring all the children forward in the sanctuary on Sunday morning, and the entire congregation gets to see these gorgeous faces. So
yeah,
that is one
that.
of my favorite things that I get to do. Yeah.
I love that. Well, this is not necessarily what we came on to talk about today, but I am interested to know, what is one thing that you do maybe differently now after graduating from seminary, after going through that training?
Oh, wow. There are so many. But I
Yeah.
probably could narrow it down to how I interact with the kids. I'm more intentional about what I teach. I don't use things as fillers. I use every ounce of time that I have to teach intentionally and
Yeah.
make sure that we just don't hit the surface of a Bible story or a lesson, that we dig in and we learn exactly what impact this has on our lives today. Even though this happened a long time ago,
Yeah.
how does this affect us today, and how do we apply this to our own lives? And I think since I have added on to that, which I mean, I think we learned that in Dr. Deb's class and Dr. Denise, and they both really helped us gain more knowledge on how to interact with these kids and make it meaningful to teach these lessons, and I absolutely love them for that. So that is one of the biggest things that has changed in my teaching.
Yeah. What about you, Erica?
I think for me, the intentionality in everything, like the study on finding people's strengths and equipping them, how to recognize parents in their context. The way I've worked with my volunteers has been completely different than what it was before seminary, leaning into the different generational dynamics that I have represented on the team, their different strengths, putting them in places where they can really thrive instead of just be there on a Sunday morning, but they're actually loving what they're doing because it's what God's gifted them to do. And then the way I interact with parents, being able to step into their context instead of just assume they're all coming from the same place,
Right.
has been really eye-opening. So when we look at stuff like generational theory, family systems theory, all of those things that we talked about in the classroom, but seeing it come to life and ministered through those things has been really cool.
What is one way that you have, because you mentioned, hey, I've had has sort of a different approach in engaging with parents. Like, is there a shift that you've made, or is there a new thing you've tried, or is there anything we can unpack there?
I've really put intentionality on building community. So it's, I was joking with someone the other day, it's like speed dating with parents. So it's like, hey, you have a kid that likes soccer and she has a kid that likes soccer and you both need friends. Why don't we get you guys together? Like, it's finding ways to build community within people who only pass each other in the hall on Sunday morning. And that's been key because they're all in the same phase. They're all struggling with the same things and they all feel so alone. I don't need to be the expert making them feel better. They can be that for each other. And so just trying to connect parents with each other has been my biggest focus.
No, that's great. And, many of us are at churches where the model is, hey, it's a 1 hour service. The adults are going into the worship service. The kids are coming into children's ministry. And then when that hour's over, everybody's going home. And so, you may like run into somebody picking up at the door. You may kind of bump in at check-in, but some of my favorite times, with parents are when we'll do a family experience with kids and parents in the same room, and we'll have kids, sitting in their parents' lap, and like one parent will look over and go, "Oh my gosh, you also have a 6-year-old? Like I've sat near you in service for months now. I had no idea." And so, yes, it's helping create those connections, between those parents around common, characteristics or family values or the way you spend your time or what sports your kids play or whatever it may be. So have you all seen small groups launch out of that or friendships launch out of that? Like, what's been the fruit?
A lot of friendships. We had it was an awesome group. They all had to take a break because they all got pregnant, but they had a mom's workout group on Wednesday mornings called Crunches and Munches that was birthed out of that.
Man, I love it.
They'd do a workout. They'd have a snack. The babies, like I have pictures of babies just crawling on their mothers as they do yoga. But it just came from, hey, I'm lonely and I need to be more active. Well, you know what? So-and-so said the same thing. And we had moms step up to host that group. The biggest problem is interacting with parents' busy schedules, so they'll sit together at school events, they'll be a part of stuff at sporting events, but once they get back into the grind, it's like, how do we get them plugged into those community groups all the time it's more difficult.
Right. I just got to tell you, Crunches and Munches will be launching at some point at my church.
That is awesome.
Crunches and Munches.
Fantastic.
I love the name. I hope it's not trademarked. I love the name.
Nope. You're good. Credit to Jessica Berry. She's the one that thought of it. I just got to throw her name in there.
Nice. No relation. I, by the way, sidebar, I love naming things. I love naming events. And I love a blank and blank. And if we can get like a rhyme or some alliteration, I'm all in it. So in January, so we're recording this in November, but in January we have an event called Trick Shots and Tater Tots. And I really can't wait. I can't wait for that. So, but Crunches and Munches, I love it.
Yep. We do Nerf and Nachos too. So we're about that same thing. Yes.
People, if you're listening to this, steal all these ideas. All right. Launch all these things at your church. So Kelly, this leads us to an interesting question though, because as we've talked about connecting parents, as we've talked about their busy schedules, as we've talked about, hey, we want to kind of get in your world and we want to connect with you and get to know you so that we can help create some community for you. There's an interesting thing that happens that we were discussing earlier, which is sometimes when we show up in the parents' world, when we show up to the dance recital or we show up to the soccer game or we show up, with dinner, we're just dropping dinner off, sometimes there's an interesting response to us. And so what have you experienced in that?
When I do show up to just, offer support and say, "Hey, I'm here. I see you." I get a lot of, "Oh, we're meaning to come to church." It
Yeah.
is the whole guilt, "Oh,
Right.
well, we didn't come to church because," um, and I get that. I understand, when they see me, they equate me with being at church.
Right.
However, what I'm trying to do is just let them know, "Hey, you're important to me. Your children are important to me. And I don't want you to think that because you are elsewhere that you're forgotten about, that you're not
Right.
prayed about."
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a whole guilt response. That's the first thing I get
Yeah.
is guilt.
It's almost this, I guess what I would equate it to is when someone gives you a Christmas gift and you didn't know that you were like gift exchange level friends.
Mhm.
And then all of a
Yes.
sudden you're like, I don't have anything for you. Right. And so, yeah, this guilt and this shame, which is the last thing that we want people to feel. I mean,
Right.
we are inviting them into spaces, into relationships where they can find freedom, from shame and guilt.
Mhm.
And yet when we show up, the first thing, like you said, I mean, the first thing they say is, "Oh, we're going to be there next weekend. We're really trying to, everybody's been sick. Everybody's been sick. We just," and I'm like, it's fine. I
Right.
didn't come here because, to tell you how many times you've missed.
We're
I'm
not
just telling
truancy
you are
officers.
missed. Right.
We're not
Yeah.
truancy officers. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. And so, but I like what you said, it's like, hey, you're not forgotten. You're still a part of this community. And
Mhm.
you are worth the time it takes to come and show up, you and your children. So let's dive in though. What can we do? How can we continue to show up in the world, where the parents are in these spaces, continue to go and try and cultivate like this kind of community without inducing that response? And I told you all at the beginning, I don't know the answer to this,
Yeah.
but I'm fascinated by the conversation.
I think we keep showing up, like regardless of how long it's been since we've seen them or how many times they say, "Oh, I'll see you Sunday." It's not about that. We don't bring up, "Hey, I haven't seen you in a couple weeks." It's just it's so good to see you. Like
Right.
Right.
I think that consistency is probably the biggest thing that we can do tangibly.
Yeah, and just planting that seed with them, just constant and watering and nurturing and saying, "I am here for you. Please, even if I can't be where they are, I will send them a text. I will maybe send the kids a card. Hey, I'm just thinking about you. I'm praying for you. Is there anything you need?" Just leaving that door open to let them
Right.
know we're here. You
Right.
know, we know that you can't make it all of the time and life gets in the way whether or not we agree with that. um we still have to support and we still have to take care of, so they are part of our flock, therefore we need to shepherd them at all times.
So we acknowledge that we wish attendance patterns were different than they currently are. We miss that child when they're not there. We miss that family when they're not there. We think something really powerful happens when people are in the building together too. Um, and not necessarily in the building, but in community with one another. And so when they're not there, yes, we certainly want to go and sort of be in their spaces and let them know you're not forgotten. But we want ministry and discipleship to continue to happen. So how are you all resourcing those parents who are not there consistently?
One thing we've started doing is instead of doing a monthly series where you never know where we're going next, we're following the Bible chronologically every year. And the parents get text messages and a monthly email, a weekly text message, and then twice a week on social media where it's, hey, this is what we learned this week, and here's how you can talk about it at home, or here's the passage of scripture that you can read with your kids so that you're still on track with us. You're not missing anything by being gone a week. And putting less focus on their experience here at church and more focus on the Bible is always accessible. You don't have to be here to be a part of it. So
Yeah.
dive into it when you're at home, talk about it at the dinner table. I can't guarantee that they use all of those resources all the time, but it's something that we try to just make sure that the kids don't feel like, oh, I missed 2 weeks, I don't know the answer. They at least have that
Right.
ability to be on the same page.
We do the same thing. And using social media, sometimes when we just do not like social media, it is a fabulous tool to use for ministry. And we will put a snippet of a video of something we learned that day. I try to upload that on a Monday. So we'll say,
Mm-hmm.
hey, this is what we did yesterday. I will do that. And then I also do the newsletters as well. But another thing that I do is if I see someone who had missed the last week or maybe the last 2 weeks, I take the first couple of minutes of class time in a review. And I just kind of open it up to the kids and ask them, hey, what is something that you learned? What is something, how can we talk about the last couple of weeks and then start into this week's lesson? So it's kind of a review every single week, just,
Yeah.
just to
Yes.
catch us up.
Yeah, and I was thinking, Erica, as you all are going, chronologically through the Bible, you can say, hey, here's kind of where we're at. Here's where
Mm-hmm.
we've been the last 2 or 3 weeks, and here's what's coming the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Yes.
So you can always get that check in. Yeah, to me, I teach elementary large group every week, and I oftentimes will say, so last week, we talked about what, and there will always be one kid, I wasn't here last week,
Mm-hmm.
every
Every
time.
time.
Every
Yep.
time, I go, that's okay. That's why I'm telling you. That's why I'm
Yeah.
telling you now, because you weren't here last week. Or I'll say, we've been learning the memory verse this month. I haven't been here this month. And I go, I know. That's why I'm telling you now. Right.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I love that. I
Oh,
love
yeah.
that. That's the joy of teaching kids. But, it's this idea that we are going to, so Erica, you talked about a, communication rhythm with a monthly email and weekly text messages and social media posts. Um, and hey, these resources are going to be available to you, right? We are consistently putting, in a rhythm that we've promised, it's there. And
Right.
so where to come and find it. When you want to engage in this, it's all there, right?
Yep.
Whether it be a handout that we've given out, in person, or an app that we use, or an email that goes out, it's always there. And we are here every
Mm-hmm.
Sunday at whatever your service times are. The doors are going to open. There's going to be a volunteer there ready to love and lead your kid. There's going to be a hot cup of coffee for you. Like, we are constant. We are here. And so a previous church that I was serving at, we use the word offering a lot. Like, we offer these experiences to you. Like, no one's
Yeah.
forcing you into this, right? We recognize that you may choose other things this week, but when you want to take a step, we have offered this, is right there, And so I think consistency is just
Yeah.
so key here. And, keeping our promises, so when we say there's going to be a monthly email, there needs to be a monthly email,
Exactly.
By the way, I'm speaking to myself here, because
Uh-huh.
some weeks I do a weekly email, and some weeks I think I have nothing new to say. I'm saying the same thing as last week. Whatever. I have other things to do. Maybe I just won't send it.
Mm-hmm.
But that consistency is really key. And so, what have you all seen? Is there a story that you have? Is there an example that you have of, hey, we've offered these things out there to parents who aren't necessarily always around, but hey, here's a win that we had because of that.
I had a parent not too long ago. Her daughter is very involved in sports and missed a lot of Sundays due to it's a travel team, so she would be out of town a lot of Sundays. And she did stop me one Sunday that they were here and say, "I am so glad you do this because as we are traveling, we are either listening to your post from Facebook that you did, or we're watching the video, or we are using the handout that you sent in the car as we're
Yeah.
traveling. So they are doing a lesson as they're going to their destination.
I love
So
it.
that was a win. That was a huge win for me.
I love it. That's the gold standard right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what we want.
Perfect.
We're going, hey, if you're not going to be here, that's okay, but don't miss this week. Don't miss this
Right.
opportunity to share this story with your kid.
So
Yeah.
so it just goes to show that when you put priority on discipling your children, you can do it anywhere.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Absolutely anywhere, because they are worshiping in the car as they go.
Yes.
Yeah, and if there are, we have parents, ministry leaders, faith influencers who listen to this and watch this podcast. If you're a parent listening to this, and you think that our message is get your, behind to church, and stop skipping, that's not our message, right?
No.
We recognize that there is life that happens. Now, I will boldly say, I believe you can prioritize what you want to prioritize, right?
Mm.
So
Absolutely.
if you want to prioritize consistent, church attendance on a Sunday, you can prioritize that. There's a cost to it. But this is not a shame-filled, guilt-filled message of, man,
No.
we just got to figure out how to get people to get to church on Sunday and skip these other things. What we're saying is we are leaning so heavily on parents to disciple their kids. We're coming alongside you, right? And so we're going to consistently provide you training and resources and communication for you to take the lead, whether that's in the car on the way to the tournament, whether that's in the Chick-fil-A drive-through line because, you have another night of activities, or whether it's on Sunday, with us.
We do remind them that we are partners in this, that they are fully capable of teaching their children just as we are. And I think that providing those resources, and if we do find something new or a new way to present and say, hey, this might be great for you guys as you're traveling. So try this. This is a podcast we found. This is, so if we are always on the lookout for something that is helpful for them, just knowing that we are there to partner. I think that is a huge word that we need to use, is
Right.
that we are partnering. We are not to take the place of the parents. We are here to, as you said, walk along with them. It is extremely important that they understand that.
I think it's important too that we recognize, yes, we want to see them in church, but our relationship with them is not confined to when I see them at church on Sunday. And so
absolutely,
knowing that Jesus is the one that ties us together, not the building,
Right.
is so important. And being consistently, like, even if I know this is where we all go, but if they start attending another church because they found one that works better with their schedule or their location, whatever, our relationship didn't end just because you're attending somewhere else. I still care about your kids and I still care about you, and and making sure they know that my priority is that their kids have a relationship with Jesus. And so any way that they can have adults speaking into their life, that's all that matters. And making sure that we're not just always represented with the church. Yes, I'm passionate. I think Seymour Heights is a great church family. I think that community is necessary. But I just care about your kid and that they love Jesus. And that's what matters. Not that I see them every week on a Sunday morning, but that they're still learning about Jesus. And so making parents feel less of that expectation and more of that community, I think, is what's so important on the guilt side of it as well.
Right. I was just going to say, I mean, I think to sort of bookend this piece of the conversation, we started with, hey, how do we eliminate the guilt and the shame from those interactions when we see folks? And you have tied it together beautifully with the line, I want you to say it again, my relationship with you is not confined to the building, or however you said it. It was very, very beautiful. If you'd say it again.
I could try.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've had enough coffee to repeat. But yeah, it's that idea that my relationship with you is not tied up in the building at Seymour Heights. It's in Jesus, and it's in our relationship with him together. And that's where I think sometimes in our culture, we fall short of, no, you have to come to my church. You have to come to my church because we're doing this the best. No, you have to follow Jesus, and I want to walk alongside you, whatever you do that, however you do that.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. And this is so personal, right? And as we've talked about, well, how do you resource parents? It makes me think of So it's okay to use their names. The Walker family at my church. So they had they have an elementary schooler, well, 2 elementary schoolers now, but when their son was in preschool, the way that our preschool pickup worked is that you sort of walked along a hall to get to the door of the room, right? And we had people line up. And so along that wall, right there on the wall, we had a little plastic holder with the, parent resource for that week. And like a monthly memory verse with motions you could learn and stuff. We had all the resources that they needed. And Emily, the mom, she told me, she said, I dread passing that in the line because I know I'm not going to do it this week.
Yep.
I know I'm not going to have the time to do it this week. And I feel like a failure. As soon as I round the corner and see that, I feel like I'm going to fail as a mom this week. And so it was not, well, Emily, that's the resource we have. That's how we're training you to disciple your kids. So, take it. It was, okay, what's a bite-sized version for your family this week? And it was just spending time together and saying, okay, what's your week look like? And what's the rhythm? And, does your husband travel? Do you travel for work? Like what's happening, that's making you feel like you can't do this? And so when we really got it down to like a bite-sized nugget, she and her husband were like, okay, we can do that. Right? We can definitely do that. Now, I should say, by the way, they are 2 of the most incredible parents in our ministry, and they are so intentional about discipling their kids. So these were not parents who were saying like, we don't know how to do this or we don't want to do this. They were saying, we want to. We're feeling the pressure of the pace of our life right now. Yes. And so leaders, ministry leaders, as much as you can, it's about personalizing that partnership, right? It's not a one size fits all. It's about getting to know these families. Right. And you can do that one family at a time. If you're at a place that has tens of dozens and hundreds of people, it can feel overwhelming, but you can start with one family. And then hopefully those families are then doing the same thing with others, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, man, we have talked about some really, really good stuff today. We always ask, though, we like to end our conversations this way. Every time we do an episode, I feel as though we come up with, for lack of a better word, another new thing that a leader now has to do, right?
Yeah.
Or a thing that they haven't been prioritizing that we're saying, you should prioritize this. So whether it be curriculum or relationships with parents or communication through social media or whatever it may be, I have a hunch that the listeners are like, ugh, I love the podcast, but here's another new thing I now have to go do. And it's overwhelming, right? It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
There are only so many hours in the day. And so there are unfortunately leaders who, as one of you mentioned at the beginning, I think it was Erica, you were saying, hey, so much in children's ministry changed from the time that I started to the time that I went to school, right? Was that you that were saying that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as it has, as if you call it the game, right? As the game has continued to change and the job or the position or the calling has gotten more and more and more and more difficult, more and more and more time consuming. We have to be experts now in not just ministry and teaching the Bible, but mental health and family systems and, Gen Z trends and all these things, right? There are people that are like, I'm tired. And I don't know that I have the energy, the stamina to learn another way to do this, to add another thing on. So how would you encourage that leader? We've said, hey, take this step, like personalize your partnership. And they're going, I don't know if I can. How would you encourage that leader to keep going?
Remember your why. Like, I think sometimes we get so wrapped up in the checklist that we forget where we're supposed to be drawing from. It's not about us as leaders doing all the right things and making sure we're equipping parents and having relationships. It's us being disciples and living that out in our calling. So whether it's a parent who is a businessman or a Chick-fil-A worker or a bagger at a grocery store, all of us have the same call to discipleship and the same call to follow through with that. It's just how we do it that's different. And so for ministry leaders, remembering that we don't do this because we're the pastor and we're supposed to, but because we are currently in a relationship with Jesus and he's constantly working in us to help us do what he's called us to do. And
Wow.
maybe that's not post on social media this week. Maybe it
Right.
is that we are just
Mhm.
making one intentional connection with a family that needs it. All of us are in different contexts and different communities that need us in different ways. And if we don't plug in every day to what he is telling us to do and following his lead, that's when we get tired. And I think finding our rest in him is a lot easier to say than do, because I'm
Right.
tired and I get it.
Right.
But always reminding myself of why I'm here and who I'm serving, that's what matters and keeps me going on the longer days.
Oh, that is really, really beautiful. Kelly, what would you say?
I would say that too. It is us finding our rest in Him. We need to remember we're the vessel. We are not the only one doing this. We need to partner with others. We can't shoulder the burden all on our own. And we need to see what parents need, what families need, and we need to tailor our ministry for our families. And it like you said before, it's not a one size fits all type ministry. You have to tailor it for your community, for your parents, and for your children. And when we realize that we need to do that, but then again, take a step back and nurture our own souls and take that Sabbath rest and be just in his presence. I think that's what gives us the ability to keep going. And I agree with Erica. I'm tired. I am
Yeah.
very tired. But because I know why I'm doing this, who I'm doing this for, and what the benefits of these children following Jesus, what is that creating? And it's just
Yeah.
another generation of disciples. So it is not, I will be gone one day, and I have to know that me teaching this next generation is going to create that generation of disciples to disciple the next generation.
Right.
So this is, not a one-stop thing. It's
Oh.
continuing through me, not
Right.
because of me.
No,
And
I love that. Go ahead, Erica. Yeah, please.
I just have one more thought. I think whether you're a parent or a ministry leader and you're listening and you're tired, find your community and don't be afraid of it. Like, and Kelly and I and our friends, I'm going to shout them out because otherwise they'll be really mad at us. It's Tanya and Tammy and Sharon. On the days that we are tired, we all come from different ministry contexts and different places, but we can text each other and be like, guys, I
Yeah.
need help. Like, I need prayer. If you're a
Yes.
parent, it's finding the parent that you can be like, dude, if my kid calls me bruh one more time, I'm going to
Right.
throw something. Find your community that all of you together can point to Jesus, because that's what sometimes you don't have the strength on your own. And finding those people
Mhm.
that walk with you are so, so important.
Find
Right.
your community and don't be afraid of it. I've
Yeah.
never heard it phrased that way. If you drill down on that, is that don't be afraid to be honest, don't be afraid to be vulnerable, don't be afraid to admit that you don't have it all together to that community?
Yes. And don't, especially as ministry leaders, don't compete in it. Like, find the people in your community who are doing the same calling as you and lean on each other. Don't
Yeah.
compete with one another.
Yes.
Don't sit there and be like, oh, we had 75 kids this week. How many did you have? But like, don't
Right.
be afraid to find the community and rest in it, because it's
Yes.
vital.
I love it. The rest piece is so key. And I think that, Kelly, you mentioned, hey, this is a generational thing. I want to pass on faith to the next generation, that they can pass on faith to the next generation. And so we start to think, well, what's at stake here? And
Yeah.
what am
Mhm.
I willing to do? I've got to put it all on the line. I've got to, I leave, whatever the analogy, when I got to leave nothing on the field, what are you willing to do for the faith of the next generation? Take a nap. That's what we need you to be willing
Yes.
to do, right?
Yes.
We need you to
Yes.
rest. We need to rest.
Mhm.
Jesus rested. Jesus
Yes.
napped.
Yep.
So
So I want to make a T-shirt that says, "I'm for the next generation. I'm willing to take a nap."
Yes.
I think that'll be a hot
yes.
seller. Hot seller.
Let's do
So,
it.
hey, Erica, Kelly, thank you so much for your time today. I oftentimes will say on this podcast, I'm so thankful that I get to be the one asking the questions, because I get to learn from the guest first. So then I get to put the stuff into practice long before the episodes ever come out. And there are some really, really great nuggets that I will have to go back and listen and write down because I just think there's such truth in them. And so, and I will also say, you both behaved yourself. No trouble was had today. So thank you for keeping it together. Had we invited,
we do our best.
Yeah, had we invited the other three leaders that you mentioned on, total chaos, I'm sure.
Absolute
I'm sure
chaos. You throw in a pizza and it is a party, let me tell you.
Well, hey, listen, we will continue to have conversations like this. We are continuing to try and get better at this calling that God has placed in our life to disciple the next generation, to partner with their parents and their faith influencers to disciple the next generation. We'll continue to talk to people like Erica, like Kelly. Thank you all so much for your heart for the Lord, your heart for kids, and the work that you're doing. Hey, join us on the next episode of the Nurturing Faith Collective podcast. We'll see you next time.